This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. What? Everyone was shocked. It turned out that the sect master of the Four Extremes sect, Tang Qing, was also involved in this. Luo Ying and Tang Xian's faces were extremely ugly. It seemed that the two of them were in the dark and were obviously abandoned pawns. Especially Tang Xian, whose face was completely distorted. Hidden Dragon patted his shoulder and said, "Calm down and wait and see." In the sky, Cui Bo shouted coldly, "Luo Ying, don't waste time talking nonsense with them. The longer we delay, the more power this formation plate will recover. Let's attack and take them down together." Humph. At this moment, a cold snort came from above, followed by a powerful pressure that rushed directly into the soul. At this moment, everyone from the Merchant Union was shocked. They looked over in shock and saw that Xiangzi's appearance had changed. There were two horns on his forehead, and the divine spear of Luo Ho had disappeared. There was only a spine wrapped around his body like a whip, exuding a shocking pressure. Meanwhile, Xiangzi's hands were closed together, his 10 fingers spread out, and his hand gesture actually formed the shape of a dragon's head spitting out beads. However, there were no beads in it. That ghastly white bone floated up in the wind, and the aura of his entire body rose to a critical point that was almost about to explode. A dark dragon's shadow gradually appeared, faintly overlapping with him. Arg. He's a member of the sea race. The demonic dragon suddenly cried out in fear, as the saying goes, the dragon has 9 sons, and each of them is different. However, this dragon's son, whose body is completely black, is called the Horned Dragon, and he is the ancestor of the royal family of the North Sea. Yunxiao licked his dry lips and said, "A pai show of the sea race and a pai show of the royal family. Let's not care about his identity and background. What is he trying to do?" Xiangzi's cold voice rang out in the air. An extremely powerful dragon might suddenly exploded out and gathered on the dragon's head in his hands. He muttered coldly, "The sigh of the true dragon." Boom. As his shout rang out, everyone's hearts trembled violently. It was as if their souls had been struck by a 1,000-pound giant hammer, causing them to lose their minds in an instant. A large number of people with weak strength even had their souls shattered under this dragon's might, dying on the spot. Pfft. Cui Bo and the others were the closest to Xiangzi and were the first to be attacked. All of them were mentally damaged and spat out blood. Although they were powerful, this kind of spiritual attack that went straight into their souls still made them panic. The terrifying dragon pressure didn't dissipate after the attack. Instead, it pressed down like a mountain, shaking those who hadn't died. They all prostrated on the ground and trembled continuously. This was the innate respect they had for the supreme godly state experts in their souls. Cui Bo and the others were terrified. Under the dragon's might, their souls felt like they were being crushed by a mountain. They could not resist at all. This formation and dragon's might are too strong, there's no hope of winning in the short term. Zhang Chang's expression changed greatly. Let's work together to set up a barrier. Even if the dragon's might is unstoppable, it can be greatly weakened. We'll slowly think of a way, or else everyone in the city will suffer. Cui Bo looked down and saw that half of the people in the central square had been killed by the dragon's roar, not to mention the rest of the people who were scattered throughout the city. He felt a chill in his heart. The sudden change in the battle of martial arts and magic had killed tens of thousands of people in the blink of an eye. He was completely at a loss. At Zhang Chang's command, they flew down like machines. All the martial supremes formed a formation near the enamel plate. A pale yellow barrier suddenly opened up and spread out, enveloping everyone in the square. As expected, the pressure on those who had not died was greatly reduced when they joined forces. However, they were still terrified and could not muster up the will to resist. Xiangzi's expression was not relaxed either. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he said, "What speed are you guys trying to do? I can only sustain this level of dragon's might for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Once the time is up, if I keep my promise, I'll leave at my own will." Don't worry, Sheng smiled faintly. An incense's worth of time is enough. At this moment, a large amount of qi in the city rushed up and was constantly being absorbed into the Jushi wheel. Tang Jie's eyes lit up and he grinned. Is this the life force of the person who just died? Sheng nodded and said, the meaning of a sacrifice is to give up the 5 senses and 6 senses, to give up all forms of dharma, and finally reach the other side. This wheel of sacrifice is a profound level weapon created by the powerful people of the monster race to complement the divine skill of sacrifice. It helps the souls of those who died in vain to ferry their souls, and help those who have not died to reach the nirvana realm. Tang Jia licked his lips and chuckled. It's better to be a good person than to kill. This is really a good thing. Sheng ignored the sarcasm in his words. With a point of his finger, the armillary sphere flew out from his body and landed on top of the Jushi wheel. The formation on the wheel was still changing, and suddenly, a faint shadow emerged from it, forming the image of a woman, holding the armillary sphere with both hands. A powerful life force was continuously extracted from the Jushi wheel and poured into the armillary sphere through the hands of the woman's illusory figure. Yunxiao's body trembled violently, and he almost lost his mind and allowed the dragon's might to break into his spiritual altar and sea of consciousness. The woman's shadow that appeared on the Kushwil turned out to be the woman with heavenly shine gold on his body, the statue of the woman with golden crystal of South Fire in the dead land of South Fire City. The shadow was also blurry, but Yunxiao was very sure that it was the woman. He would never forget that fleeting glimpse he had in South Fire City. Tang Jia and Sheng's conversation was not concealed at all, and it was heard by everyone. The people below all had goosebumps all over their bodies. These demons were actually trying to absorb their life force through the formation. Those who died would be sent to the afterworld, and those who did not die would be sent to the afterlife. Zhu Keating's face was also very serious. Although he didn't believe that a mere profound level weapon or array could take all of their lives, Chen Feng and Xiao Jingming were the core disciples of the Blade sect. There couldn't be any mistakes. Although Chen Feng's cultivation level was higher than Xiao Jingming's, at this moment, the dragon's might was directly pressing down on his soul. Xiao Jingming's condition was actually much better, and he was even continuously splitting out his soul power to help Shui Luoyan resist it. Sir Cui, you are the host here. What should we do now that this has happened? Zhu Keating asked. Cui Bo's expression turned ugly. It's really unexpected. The dragon's might can shake one's soul, and it's hard to resist. I've checked this so-called Jushi Luan formation with my divine sense just now, and it has sealed the entire Songwei city, even the void path is sealed off. Moreover, under the dragon's might just now, I estimate that at least half of the city has been injured or killed. He was already being very conservative. Other than the cultivators from the central region, there were very few people from the other cities who could survive. The #1 shopping center in the world for thousands of years had actually encountered such a tragic event. Luo Ying's expression was extremely unsightly. He looked up and roared, Tang Jia, don't let a single mistake cause eternal hatred. These demons have taken the lives of hundreds of thousands of human beings and are the greatest enemies of the world. If you don't surrender to the light and the dark today, you will be hunted down by the whole merchant union, or even the whole world. Tang Jia looked at him coldly and sneered, Luoying, no wonder you can only be the vice sect leader forever. What you lack is not only cultivation, but also ambition and domineering. Only the weak would be hunted down by the people of the world, while the real strong should be hunting down the people of the world. A general's success was built on 10,000 bones. Which unparalleled expert did not step on countless corpses to reach it? If these ants can be used by me and become a stepping stone for my Tang dynasty's hegemony, their lives in this world will have meaning. It's me who let these ant-like lives bloom with brilliance. This is also the meaning of sacrificing. Only by sacrificing can we reach the other side. You coward. You're really crazy. Luo Ying was so angry that he couldn't speak. In the current situation, it was useless to say anything. We're all knowledgeable, intelligent, and quick-witted people. Cui Bo asked anxiously. Do you have any ideas? If this continues, we'll really reach the other side in less than an incense's time. he said with a bitter smile. In addition to the supreme dragon's might that suppressed a city, the demonic power on the Kushal also began to reap the lives within the formation. The enchantment they formed began to feel more pressure and could only shrink its range. The people on the outside screamed and squeezed in. Everyone! Su Donha shouted angrily, all those who are not from the 7 merchant alliances, stay 80 feet away from the core. Otherwise, I will kill you without mercy. As soon as she finished speaking, her palm struck out like a knife, directly cutting a disciple who was squeezing it into 2. The disciples outside of the 7 merchant alliances gasped and retreated in horror, not daring to rush forward again. Everyone fell silent, their eyes filled with unwillingness and anger, but no one dared to say anything. Even the people from the 7 merchant alliances fell silent. Although Cuibo frowned, he did not say anything. At this time, although they were united against the enemy, everyone was selfish. Moreover, the 7 merchant alliances were the main force in defending against the enemy. Although the other merchant associations had some martial supreme powerhouses to support the barrier, their ability was still very limited. Tang Xian suddenly said, although I don't know this kind of demonic formation, all the formations in the world communicate with the heaven and earth through some symbols that represent the elements and power of heaven and earth. This Zhu Shiluan formation should be the same. The way I see it, he must have passed through the formation eyes in the 4 corners of Songyueyang City, constantly transmitting the power of the 4 poles, which is why he can resist everyone's joint efforts. The key to breaking this might be to break the power of the 4 poles in the 4 corners. Cui Bo was overjoyed. I forgot that young master Tang Xian has obtained the inheritance of the king levels 800 formations. Your understanding of formations is rare. Since that's the case, why don't we send out our experts to break the 4 formation cores? Send experts? Zhang Chong frowned. If it wasn't for everyone's central defensive barrier, let alone breaking the formation eye, even the few of us with the highest cultivation would be frightened by the dragon's might outside. How could we break the formation? Everyone fell silent. It was difficult to even get out of the barrier in the current situation, let alone break the formation. Moreover, there were also Tang Jia and a few martial sovereigns from the 4 extremes sect guarding the sky. The situation was much worse than he had imagined. I'm afraid only 9th-tier great alchemists can fully resist this dragon's might, Tang Xian said with difficulty. Even an 8th-tier alchemist can't do it. Everyone's eyes fell on Yunxiao, Cui Yuan, and Xiao Jingming, who were the only 3 8th-tier alchemists in the team. Cui Yuan smiled bitterly. Although that dragon's might is pressing down on me, it's not to the point where I can't resist it. However, my martial cultivation is only at the 7 constellations realm martial emperor realm. How can I fight against those demons? Xiao Jingming also snorted, and then he didn't say anything. His cultivation also stopped at the 7 constellations realm. At that moment, all eyes fell on Yunxiao. I'm only a martial emperor of the 7 constellations realm, Yunxiao said with a frown. Don't tell me you can't tell? Everyone was stunned. This was true, but in the battle with Xiangzi, it was 100% the power of a martial honor. It was even much stronger than the average martial honor. Young Master Yun, Cuibo said with a wry smile, we're already at this point. If we don't work together, we'll really be hopeless. You're the only one who has a chance of breaking the formation, so I hope you can consider the big picture. Yunxiao snorted coldly. If the sky falls, there will be a tall man to hold it up. I'm not a tall man. What's there to worry about? Also, you all saw the battle with Xiangzi just now. I have no elemental energy left, my body and mind are exhausted, and my body is weak. Alright, just state your conditions. Qianwudi suddenly glared and said, do you think I don't know you? Do you want primordial stones, medicinal pills, or profound level weapons? Hurry up and tell me. Yunxiao was taken aback, but then he said unhappily, Brother Wudi, do you really think I'm that kind of person? It was so sad and tiring. The basic trust between people was gone. First, give me a few bottles of 9th-ranked energy recovery pills. I really did lose a lot in the battle just now. Cui Bo took out a jade bottle and said, "There are 3 yuan yang blood restoration pills inside. They're divine healing pills." Cui Yuan also pondered for a moment and took out a jade box with some reluctance. Inside is a Tianshui soul restoring pill. It's extremely effective in replenishing soul power, and its value isn't below tier 9. Good stuff. Yunxiao grabbed the 2 bottles, poured out 1 primordial yang blood restoring pill, and swallowed it together with the Dubhi soul restoring pill. He immediately felt the surging energy burning in his body. His essence energy and soul power both increased. Ha! It's a treasure indeed. He glanced at the others and frowned. What about you guys? Don't tell me that you're only planning to let the myriad treasure store spend money while you pick up what's ready-made? Haven't you recovered your physical strength? Su Donha said angrily. You've only taken one of the 3 pills Cui Bo gave you, right? What's it to you? Yunxiao frowned. What does it matter to you how many I take? This is the spirit of unity and the importance of the overall situation. You want me to go out and fight to the death while you all watch from the back? My heart is so cold. Qianwudi was dizzy. He patted his head and said, "Everyone, let's bleed a little. At this time, let him slaughter us. We'll decide for ourselves which is more important, wealth or life." He took out his storage bag and threw it over without even looking at it, saying, "When the time comes, your friends and lovers will go to the other side with you. Don't think that you can escape this disaster alone. You don't have to worry about that." Yunxiao chuckled. With the Divine Realm tablet, he could take all the people of Tianyuan Trading Company into it. However, it would be too terrifying to show it in front of these people, and if he escaped today's disaster, it would also leave him with endless disasters. After everyone heard Qianwudi's words, they all opened their wallets, not even letting off the people from the Blade sect. They extorted a huge sum of money, making Qinfeng and Xiao Jingming so angry that their faces turned green, but they didn't dare to say anything. At this moment, a few figures flew over from the 4 corners of the sky. The east pillar is complete. Rain said with a serious face. The pillars of the west have been completed. Li said. Wing's shadow also appeared in the sky and said, "The pillars of the south have been completed. The north pillar is also complete." Fu's voice was calm. The air shook, and another figure gradually appeared. It was Li Yi. His face was calm and indifferent, and he said coldly, "Destroy the 4 inter-province transportation formations outside the city." Every word fell on the merchant union's ears like a trial. Although they did not know what the 4 obsidian pillars meant, it was not a good thing for them to complete them. Especially when Li Yi said that the 4 inter-province transportation formations had been destroyed, it made their hearts sink. Li Yi's eyes were like an eagle looking for prey below, and when they suddenly fell on Yunxiao, he trembled and said in a trembling voice, "Lord Sheng, can you let Li Yunxiao come out? I want to eat this man alive." Oh. Yi chuckled. Do you also have a grudge against him? This person is too dangerous, even the sacrifice array will not be able to hurt him. You will have the chance to attack later. Eh? Is he really that powerful? Xiang Zi, who had been silent the entire time, suddenly spoke, his eyes filled with disbelief. Richard smiled and didn't say anything. He knew that Yunxiao had the Divine Realm tablet, and as long as he hid in it, the Jushi will would not be able to break through the power of a realm no matter how powerful it was. However, as long as his armillary sphere was repaired, he would have the power to kill him. Suddenly, Shang's expression changed. His eyes glowed as he said coldly, "Li Yi, you're too late to destroy the teleportation circle. There's already a little mouse that has sneaked in." What? Li Yi was not the only one. Everyone was shocked as well, and they all looked forward. The space in front of them cracked like a mirror, and a chariot slowly emerged from it. The flame above the chariot was burning non-stop, but below it was like a wave. The chariot was shining with a golden light, making it impossible to look at it directly. This is a Kasaya. Tang Jie had already recognized the chariot in front of him. His face suddenly changed, and his whole body became extremely nervous. The people of the Merchant Union also widened their eyes in ecstasy. Cui Bo said, "Great. It's a golden law enforcement war chariot. We're saved." The crowd cheered, and Su Donha suddenly glared at Yunxiao and shouted, "Li Yunxiao, give me back my things. It's finally here." Hidden Dragon's eyes turned cold as he snorted, "I've said it before, we don't need to deal with Tang Jia personally." Tang Xan's face also showed a knowing smile, and a faint coldness appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Did you guys lure the law enforcement officers here?" Luo Ying's body trembled and he asked in shock. Tang Xan said coldly, "Tang Jia colluded with the big demon. Of course, such an important thing must be reported to the sacred zone as soon as possible." The moment he abandoned himself and mixed with the demon race, he was no longer a member of the Four Extremes sect, but the public enemy of the entire world. Enemies of the world naturally have to be eliminated by the world's leaders. Luo Ying's entire body turned cold when he heard this. There was truly no affection between these two brothers, and they were completely at odds with each other. Tang Xan's face was gentle. "Uncle Luo Ying, I'm afraid my father will also be involved in the big demon's matter. By then, I'll have to rely on you to bear the responsibility of the Four Extremes sect." Luo Ying's face was gloomy and he didn't say anything. No one knew what he was thinking. Zhang Chong smiled and said, "Young Master Tang Xan, you put righteousness before family. You've saved everyone from danger. This is a great merit. We will support you." Tang Xan was overjoyed. He cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, everyone." Zhang Chang's words undoubtedly represented the position of the money gang, which was to support him unconditionally. Tang Jia looked down from the sky and said coldly, "A bunch of ants. Don't be happy too early. So what if they're the law enforcement officers of the Holy Region? They'll still come here and never return." On the golden chariot stood 3 men in full armor, their eyes cold. The leader held the hilt of the sword at his waist with his left hand and shouted coldly, "A few days ago, I received a message saying that Tang Jia of the Four Extremes sect was colluding with the demon race to harm the continent. I didn't expect it to be true. Now that you've seen this law enforcer, surrender and follow me back to the Holy Region to await my punishment." "It's just 3 low-level martial sovereigns," Sheng said after a quick glance. "Let's end this quickly. We don't want the Jushi formation to be affected. Leave it to the Four Extremes sect." Tang Jie grinned. "Elder Hao, I'll order the 5 of you to attack together and end the battle quickly." The aura of the 5 of them immediately rose and pressed down on the golden law enforcement chariot. "Everyone in the sacred law enforcement team has a joint attack," Elder Yi said. "We must not underestimate our enemy." The law enforcer flew into a rage and shouted, "How audacious! How dare you resist the law of the sanctuary? This alone is enough to sentence you to death." He waved his hand and shouted, "Go." The 2 law enforcement officers behind him flew up from the chariot at the same time. Both of them were holding long sabers with a cold light in their hands. They rushed into the group of 5 people at the same time. The saber light suddenly appeared, and the sky was cut open. The leader of the chariots cast a few incantation seals into the chariots, and the blazing flames in the sky suddenly whizzed up, dyeing the sky red. The water elements below the chariots surged up violently, rolling up waves and sweeping over. The power of water and fire burned together, forming circles of barriers that trapped the 5 of them. The leading law enforcement officer made a hand seal and pointed. A beam of sword chi shot out from his waist and slashed at the kushwheel under his control. He could tell at a glance that it was this formation that had trapped the people below. As long as he could break the formation and let the people of the Merchant Union out, he would win. "Humph. You want to fight everyone at the same time? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Fu's figure flickered and appeared in front of them. A huge axe appeared in his hand. He held it with both hands and suddenly slashed down. A fierce force sent out rays of axe light, which chopped onto the huge sword. Bang! With a bang, the law enforcement officer's sword let out a loud sorrowful cry and suddenly flew back into the hand of the man. At a glance, it had lost all its spiritual energy and was still trembling, as if it was in great fear. The law enforcement officer's expression changed drastically. Suddenly, a light flashed in front of his eyes, and he felt the sky darken. Fu's huge body blocked the sunlight as the Xianhua axe came straight for him.